So now we're going to be feeding the starter, and to do that, it's essentially the same process of creating the first builds for anything else. You take your flours, you're going to mix your flours, and this is, again, ABC flour. Let's see, my particular, for my building purposes, I'm going to be using 300 grams of ABC, Artisan Baker's Craft. There we go, 300 grams. And 100 grams, we're going to use 100 grams of whole grain mix. Yeah. 100 grams, there we go. Now, salt, the idea behind salt is that it basically retards the process a little bit. You're supposed to add 1 gram of salt. It's very difficult to measure out 1 gram. So what I do is I basically use the pinch of salt, just a tiny, tiny bit. There we go. It doesn't even register on the scale as 1 gram, but that's how much we use. So then mix it all together, again with the whisk. That part is the dry ingredients are ready. Now we get we're going to mix the wet ingredients. What you want to do is take, you want to take 200 grams of the starter that you had before. Here it is. And I'm going to take 200 grams of that. 170. Now you only want 200 grams, so no matter how much you have left, you got to throw it away, or more appropriately, compost it. Mix with compost. There we are. That's 200 grams of the old starter. So to the 200 grams starter, we add 220 grams of water. There we go. 220 grams. And again, as we did with so many other components of this, you chop up the starter in the water. It gets little pieces, and the water becomes completely white, milky white. And you get little pieces of starter. There we go, little pieces of starter floating in milky white water. Now, I always like to add the wet ingredients into the dry ingredients. Just pour it all in. And mix it up. Once again, you start with the scraper. And when you basically, the scraper doesn't seem to be doing much anymore, now it's time to switch to hands. And again, what you're trying to do is gather it all into a ball. as we're doing this, basically what we're doing is hydrating the dry ingredients. Basically, the water is still diffusing through the entire mixture, and the more you work with it, the more it comes in contact with the dry ingredients. There we go. You see how it's all coming together. And that's the premise behind this whole process of feeding the starter. You just take a little bit of it and add massive quantities of flour and water. The yeast goes crazy and they start multiplying. Almost there. Yeah, everything is all right. Okay. Now once it's reached this stage, see it's the new happily fed starter, and put it in this wonderful container. The Glad people make it, I swear by it. Tight-fitting lid on it, and then we're going to put it somewhere for 4 to 5 hours, during which time it will grow to fill up this entire container. The well-fed starter is going to sit here, right here on top of the oven, and it's going to stay in about 4 or 5 hours. This will fill up the entire container, so just let it sit. Remember, we've finished eating the Chef Levain, and we just left it here on the oven for maybe 4 or 5 hours until, as you see, it has pretty much filled up the entire container. And when it looks at about this high or maybe even a little higher, and it starts looking like a little loaf of bread itself, this is when the Chef Levain goes, it's done, it's ready to go, and you put it in the fridge, or you can use it right away to make your first loaf of bread with it, or if you're not ready to make that loaf of bread, you just put this in the refrigerator, put it on the top shelf towards the rear, and keep it there until you need to use it.